That's why I like going to like TravCon or some of the, the nurse shows, because you get to like be reminded that they're real people and they have needs, right? So you're looking at a spreadsheet trying to figure out why someone's not converting or why they're not applying to these jobs or why they're, what's happening here, what's happening there. And you realize that there's this whole human story behind it. And that never shows up in a chart.
Thank you for joining me for another episode of On the Clock and Off the Record. Each episode is brought to you by Atlas MedStaff, unapologetically human. Today's guest has been building digital highways for nurses and allied professionals long before everyone else figured that Google was useful for more than just cat videos. Oliver Feakins is the CEO of TrackFive Media, the engine behind such sites as Travel Nurse Source and Allied Travel Careers. He knows how to get eyeballs and clicks and candidates to where they need to go, and he's not shy about actually saying what works and what doesn't work in the staffing industry. My friend Oliver, welcome to On the Clock, Off the Record.
Awesome. Hey, Rich, thanks for having me. This is, like I said, I was really looking forward to this. I'm really excited for this series that you're doing, and there's no better person to do it. So thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. So give me, I did a little introduction for you. Give me a little introduction of yourself. Like, how long have you been in the industry? How long TrackFive been around? What you guys do?
Yeah, so the short version is, I've been in either healthcare staffing, did a short stint of healthcare staffing in my early, right out of college kind of thing, a few years. Started really getting into social, the internet. Got recruited to go work at a .com startup that was trying to basically compete with Facebook at the time. Obviously, we saw who won that one. So, but from there, I just kind of got introduced to internet marketing and product marketing and tech. And just combined those two things together. And we put together a platform, connecting nurses to travel nurse agencies very, very, very early on. And, we just kind of went with it. It's been an evolving, labor of love for the last 17 years. So crazy.
I would say I have been buying leads from you for virtually my entire staffing career. I don't know how to do anything else now. It's like, so it's true. We've made almost a 2-decade stint of connecting candidates with agencies and helping them find placements and helping agencies find qualified travelers and kind of evolving through that process. So we've been doing it for a while. So we've kind of seen the ebbs and flows, and so this has just been, it keeps us busy. I mean, you as well, I'm sure. It's the same 5-year stint, is it? It's like. Absolutely. Right. That's totally true.
Yeah.
All right. On the clock. What's the biggest shift that you've seen in staffing lead generation in the past 5 years? And I picked 5 years because, we get the pandemic in there, post-pandemic, right? All of that.
Yeah.
What's the biggest shift?
I would say the biggest shift that I've seen has been kind of from this, we'll call it generation one job board type of world to more of the marketplace, the double-sided marketplace transition. That has been the biggest shift. And it's this idea of, really giving more transparency, control back to the user, back to the candidates. That's where I've seen it be the largest. There are some pros and cons on both sides for that. And also that's, kind of where we're moving our platforms more that way as well. But that's been the biggest thing I think I've seen from a product standpoint.
Well, I think the transparency too, what we get now versus what you said before, way more transparent, pay transparency, job openings, that type of thing. Way better.
And it's really weird, too, Rich, because nursing and allied, for example, as sectors are kind of on board with this. They're yeah, of course we got to show pay rates. Of course we got to. On locums, for example, which is we have locum jobs online, completely different. A lot of the locum companies, they don't even want to tell you what city the assignment is in, right? So imagine if you're a user and you're expected to apply for an assignment, but you won't know where it's at specifically somewhere in the state of California and what it's going to pay or anything about it, right? And you're supposed to apply to this phantom event. Right. So it needs to permeate through the rest of the industry, but it's kind of getting there. But it's still amazing to me in 2025 how some of these segments are okay with being not just not transparent, but really not transparent.
Give them some time. This was our industry, though, 10 to 15 years ago, though. That's how it was when we first started working together. It was like that. So give them some time. I bet they come around.
I hope so.
All right.
I hope so.
Question 2, with so many companies focused on more leads, how do you help them focus on better ones?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that's been a big focus of ours the last couple of years is, trying to get better data and more transparency into kind of how the sausage is made on our partner side so we can understand, what do they do with these candidates when we send them over, right? Like what works better, what doesn't, and everybody just wants more, right? Because the general assumption is our agency is great. We know what we're doing. We can close all these leads. If they're good leads, we could close them. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. Yeah. So, for us, we're trying to understand, well, okay, why, right? So, and what we've always found out is that 9 times out of 10, things aren't always what they appear, right? And with no malice intent, just how it is. There's a lot of things going on. A good example is we'll talk to agencies and they'll say time is a really big differentiator here. Time to call, it impacts everything else down funnel. Every agency we talk to, we have metrics, we have KPIs, we track this, everyone, we call right away. And we found 2 things. A, not always true. They text right away. They don't call right away. And B, right away is a relative term. It's not the same for everybody. Like right away can be like next day for some. And by that time, 60% chance of failure, at that point is introduced because other agencies are on the ball.
Right.
So, yeah. So we've really tried to kind of get down there to find out, not just the quantity, but the quality. Like we've been looking at, for example, how many candidates apply within a session. And we've kind of taken this, like Yusuf and I have had this little bit of argument, I should say debate, not argument, but I'm like, if a nurse comes on and just goes crazy with applying to I want that job and I want that job. Next thing you know, there's 6, 7, 8 jobs in or assignments in. At that point, it's not doing the candidate any good, nor is it the agency experience as well. Right. What, if any, do we have as an avenue to try to curtail or slow them down? But then we're jumping in their user experience, right? And, Yusuf and I differ on that, and, what we've tried to do is try to slow them down a little bit because at that point it's just like, hey, you've selected 3 or 4 companies to work with, just go talk to them first, before you've got enough, so, it's just not practical. I think, some of our competitors are just like, well, let them apply to everybody. And we're really trying to get quality over quantity.
That shotgun approach maybe it worked at one point, but to me, it sounds like in that scenario, that traveler just needs that nurse or therapist or whoever needs to talk to a recruiter at that point. Yeah. and just get it all out. Like, this is what I want. This is why I want to do this. And then trust that the recruiter has their best interest in mind. Right. And then find them that job. Sometimes
I wonder if the candidates think that we're an agency in a way, like they're not paying attention to all the logos of the clients on the job post, and They're just thinking they're interested in specific assignments with that agency. I could go to San Diego. Well, I could go to LA too, and I don't know, but it's we're really trying to introduce more of a better user experience for the candidates to help them just get more in sync with what they're applying to.
Question number 3. You serve multiple verticals. I want to know what are some similarities between all of them, between allied and nursing, and I believe you do trucking too, don't you?
Yeah.
So there's got to be some similarities between all of them.
So there is the transparency and data privacy element is a big symbol between all the candidates parts of the site. They're all looking for the better user experience. They're all looking to have more control and more information. They're all looking to make their own destiny and their own decisions. So that's kind of a product element that we feel pretty good about throughout the portfolio. On the agency and hiring side, it is very, very different. I'll give you a good example. On healthcare staffing, we have a database of active travelers. When you join the site, your information can be put out to other agencies for them to try and offer you assignments that they think you may like. Well, on the transportation side, we do the same thing. And it's actually at one point was a much larger site than our healthcare combined. And not one of them have ever been in the database, any of these recruiters. They don't work out of a database, ever. And, some of it is the aspect of it's a more perm as opposed to more, contingent. But they're just so used to fresh lead flow and there's so much of it because it's a much larger industry, they just don't outbound. So that's really, really interesting because we're like, hey, there's hundreds upon hundreds of thousands of truck drivers that you could call. And, in your area, right?
Right.
And no. So passive approach is not really something they do.
That's super interesting. Like you and I have had this conversation before, where if I go to SIA Executive Forum, I don't like to. I like to hang out with my healthcare friends, but I like to hang out with my non-healthcare friends and talk about things like that, because that's stuff outside of healthcare staffing. We get in our own little echo chamber. There's a whole world of staffing out there that is completely different, that we can learn from and take little bits from.
It's true, and it's interesting because we've seen things that are popular in the transportation segment, and we brought it into the healthcare segment. We've seen it and vice versa. But really, like the technology staffing side of the industry seems to be kind of leading the pack with tools, which kind of makes sense. And we see a lot of the healthcare and then transportation and office and clerical all kind of follow that. So you're right; it kind of permeates through the total staffing sector.
Yeah. All right, last question of On the Clock, and then we'll get off the record a little bit.
We'll get off the clock.
We never get off the clock, yeah. What is something about the staffing industry that most outsiders and even some clients maybe just don't understand?
I would say, and this is going to be a really cheesy kind of answer, but I would say it's that these nurses are human, right? They're human beings.
Right.
A lot of times, like even in our own business, we talk to them. We talk about them as users, right? We're what is the user?
They're leads,
well,
right? I
yeah,
hate calling them leads. That's just gross. But
that's right. The leads, the users, the candidates, and when you start talking about things, people, whatever, like that, it dehumanizes them, right? So now you're like, they become metrics, they become, KPIs, they become conversion rates, they become things like that. And, it's really interesting. Once that's why I like going to like TravCon or some of the, the nurse shows, because you get to like be reminded that they're real people and they have needs, right? So you're looking at a spreadsheet trying to figure out why someone's not converting or why they're not applying to these jobs or why what's happening here, what's happening there. And you realize that there's this whole human story behind it, and that never shows up in a chart. And I think people who, are not in this industry, they're like, well, it's just easy. Tell the nurse to go here. Tell the nurse to go to Alaska. Like just tell them it's a good pay rate. And it's like, no, there's a trend here. There's a whole history, and there's a whole change in how nurses are applying to jobs now. And yeah, that part of the story never makes its way into the sheets,
Yeah, that's totally true. And quite honestly, one of the best answers I've had. I try to shape every last question like that. Possibly one of the best. You know how much I care about the people side of our business, and so for sure. You're 100% right.
Yeah, it's easy to forget when you're surrounded by tech and servers and KPIs and calls. Like, you get distant from it. You really do.
I know, absolutely. All right, off the record. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Not that we haven't had these conversations before, quite honestly. Right. So none of these should be new to you. All right, give me one time in your professional career where you absolutely whiffed on something, where it was just a swing and a miss.
So here's a big one. We launched a platform called seniorcaring.com, and this is like 7-8 years ago. And the idea was like, hey, we're really good at attracting leads and candidates, and we're really good like the marketplace thing, right? We know how to do it. We're just good at it. So where else can we deploy this? So we're like, there's a big market in senior care. So essentially we created a kind of Zillow, Trulia, for senior care. So same thing, like marketplace lead gen. People could come in and look for a place for their aging parents. They would lead gen to, the facilities, and they would call them, book them. And it was based on a commission structure. So we would essentially get the first month of their rent, if you will, for an assisted care, or home care or something like that. Could be anywhere like $2 to $10 grand, initially. So it's a really solid model from that point. And we were getting tons and tons of candidates, and we were like, man, this is going to go great. And we spent like so much time trying to get this going, and it was really like telling in like the kind of the adult, the elder care industry. No one could pay for it. Like all the people that are applying were like, hey, what can you do for $500 a month for, senior care? Or do you take Medicare, Medicaid? And it was like none of these places did. They all wanted private pay. And that's why they were trying. They were all like 10 grand a month. So it was like alarming to see how. So anyway, we would get all these people applying. They couldn't pay. And then we finally got a couple people applying and like actually got situated in the actual, communities. And we were like, great, we're going to get paid. And they died. So before the warranty period, like the first week. So we were like, oh no. So we're like, we ended up like shifting geography. We started in Pennsylvania and we're like, let's go to Florida because that's where all the kind of the old people are, right? And we got set up there. We had like, TV commercials. We had big ad spends. We were doing a beta with Google. Like we were set, man. And the moment we went and we're like, okay, we're just in the wrong location. We just got to go to Florida. So I went to Florida. The day that we launched was one of the biggest hurricanes down there where like they were in the news where like the nursing homes were submerged underwater and all these patients and were trapped and all this stuff. And we're calling like, hey, are you looking for, we're trying to launch this thing. And they're like, they're literally underwater, man. So we were just done. Our team was so demotivated and we lost so much money on it. But, it's one of those things you just got to pack it up and move on, dust it off and keep going.
Wow. Okay. All right. Next question. Has there ever been a client like myself, right? And not that I'm guilty of it. Maybe I'm guilty of this. Who knows?
Maybe.
That asked you for something and you hung up the phone and said, yeah, we're never doing that.
Oh, all the time. All the time, man. It's, and it's so funny how some of these, I'll probably get in trouble for saying this, but like, it's definitely like the New York clients are like the worst. Like, I don't know. It's nothing against my New York clients, but some of the New Yorkers, like, it's like they got this kind of like, I don't know, mob mentality, but like.
But they just expect it, right? They just.
Yeah, it's like, so seriously, Oliver, so if I give you a little extra money and scratch your back, I want these leads ahead of everybody else. We get asked that like once or twice a year. And I'm like, laugh because I think it's a joke. And then they're serious. And I'm like, no, we can't do that because we're an ethical company. But no one else will know, Oliver. It's just like,
have the accent.
Yeah, I'm used to it, man. And then, so we'll say, no. And he's like, I understand, but really? I'm like, no, we can't. So, there's definitely that. We've been, people try to strong arm us into acquisition, that type of stuff. Really pursue us from that stage. Even agencies, or agency conglomerates have came after us a couple times, 2 or 3 of them. We've been like, no, we're not going to be owned by an agency. We're going to be neutral, that kind of thing. So yeah, there's a bunch, but mainly it's mainly around like either, getting leads ahead of everybody else or some sort of preferential treatment, like an under the table deal,
Sure. Especially from your New York clients. That's awesome. That's all right. So and I've answered this question so many times, and I think it's interesting to hear from others that have started businesses too. What's one thing that you wish you had known early on that kind of that maybe surprised you or caught you off guard or something like that?
One thing I wish I would known early on, I think it would have been to think bigger. I think as I look back, like, been doing this entrepreneur for 20 years, and maybe, I'm sure, Rich, you relate to this. Like, when you're starting out and starting a business, you're like, if I could just get to here, right? If I could just get to, $1 million or 5 million or 20 million, or I could just get 100 nurses on. Well, you're so close to getting to that next level that's your inputs, right? So that's what you're doing. Those, the actions that you are deploying into your organization are to get you to that next smaller incremental level. They're not the actions that you would do to get to the much larger level that you want to be 10 years from now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if your sites were larger, you would get there. So, it took me a good 10 years into this business. And also I was young. I started this when I was like 20 years old. So, I got my college degree while doing this. Like, I had to grow up at some point and kind of go from like, I think like 10 years ago, I'm like, what, I'm older now. I feel pretty good about it. It's time to treat this like a business and really kind of plan that way. So that, I took some courses and really kind of worked on myself from like a professional development, stage as far as leadership, really tried to like everything not be centered around me as far as like, all right, I'm going to tell everybody what to do. Like, because, and again, I'm sure you can relate. That's hard. That second, like when you have to get people below you to do what you're doing, it's difficult.
and then trust that they're going to do it, and they're going to screw up, they're going to fail, they're going to, you're right, they're going to do it their way rather than my way, which I think is the right way all the time, right? But their way still works, and being able to trust that's huge.
It's hard. It's super, super hard. About 4 years ago, I did something crazy, and I wanted, not that anything was wrong, but I was applying a lot of pressure to my team to like pick up things and to get to follow process. And as we were going from kind of this like dormstyle.com to like more of a mature company where we're trying to like set up procedures so we could scale and grow.
Yeah.
And as I was giving this kind of feedback to the team and I was really holding them to account, I said, it's not fair for me to do this to them and not have them be able to do it to me. Like I should set an example here. So I went to a leadership company, a management company, and asked them to basically 360 or like administer a 360 for me, completely unbiased. They came in, they did a complete study on my leadership style, complete study on what everyone thought of the vision of the company. Could people define it, articulate it? Did they believe in it? What did they think about how I lead, my management, like my team's management? Like it was extensive. It's like 30-page, documents what I got back at the end. And it was good, bad, and ugly, but it was eye-opening, and it really kind of like, I was able for the first time to like match how I act and lead and what I think's happening and how they perceive it to what's actually happening, and really make changes. And then also, some in that report was like damning, like, again, not everybody, but like somebody in the report said something like Oliver enjoys running the company through disorganized chaos or something. Obviously I don't, but like that was their reality, right?
Perception, right?
So I had all this stuff, right? And you know what I did with this really, really, this like damning report? I mean, it was good and bad. It wasn't all damning, but some of this, what was damning in there was damning. I sent it to everybody in the company. Completely transparent. Here's my 360. Here's what everybody has said about me. And I'm committed to changing anything on here that's negative. And, I kind of set the tone for like, we're going to put it all out in the open, guys. We're going to share our dirty laundry. So.
Awesome. That awesome. I mean, being able to take a critical look at yourself from the outside, right? And say like, I'm going to get better. Like I'm going to get better, not only for the sake of the company, but for the sake of all the people that I employ. Is huge, and there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there that may just not want to do something like that. That could be it could be embarrassing. Hard. It could be hard to hear. Yeah.
And especially and when you're an entrepreneur, like you put so much pride and so much of your identity is in your business, right? Like to have somebody say something not kind about it, like it stings a little bit. You got to be able to take it.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about that. Company culture. You're located in Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Did I say that right? Lancaster.
You did. You got it.
Yes. See, we've talked enough that instead of a major tech hub, right? You're. Let's be honest. Lancaster probably isn't a very Silicon Valley of Pennsylvania kind of thing or whatever.
It's not.
How has that shaped your approach, and how has that made things different for you?
Oh, it's really, really different, and it's really, really difficult. Every week I have a conversation in my head about like, I think I need to open an Omaha office, because it's really difficult to get the talent that we need here in a very, very small city in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, right? And we do have half of our organization is remote throughout the entire U.S. And then we have about 25% of our team, our engineering team, is actually based out of Brazil. Okay. And, it's challenging. I do lament and miss the days where we're all together under one roof. I found it really easy to communicate and really easy to like share culture. And I also find it really difficult to maintain a culture in a in-office and out-of-office kind of hybrid approach.
Yeah.
You inadvertently treat those two differently. The people that are there inadvertently get more access, more, or more presence. People aren't there, you're kind of always wondering, like, why aren't they answering my Slack? What are they doing? Right. Even if you trust them, like, which I do, you always have it in the back of your head, like, where are they? Right. So it's been really, really challenging, but Lancaster has made it really, really hard. I would love to be able to kind of grow more talent here locally, just because also there is something to be said about physicality, like being able to be together, like even just to share culture, right? Like, right. To put a hand on somebody when they're upset or whatever. Like it's,
I agree. We're all struggling with that, though. Like, I know we struggle with that as an agency, even here in Omaha, right? I mean, that's 70% of our recruiters are remote. They don't live in Nebraska. And so it's difficult. And so I feel your pain there for sure.
Yeah.
And completely understand.
I have a friend of mine that owns a large tech company here in Pennsylvania, really large, enterprise level. And they ended up purchasing this massive building, I think can hold 400, 500, 600 workers, and it sits with like 60 to 100 workers in it because everyone's remote. They bought it before the COVID, and now they've had to sublet it because they're like, it's just, the COVID just accelerated this demand for work from home, and it's just been interesting. I'm sure you guys are the same thing, right? I'm sure your office is not full,
No, not at all. And we were at nearing capacity before the pandemic, and now it's if there's 20 of us in here on a given day, that's a pretty good day. So it changed everything. It changed a lot of things.
Does it make coming into the office weirder for you, Rich, coming from both sides? Like, what do you think when you walk through the doors?
It does. Yeah, it does. And I have those same feelings that you do, honestly. Like, why isn't that person answering, or whatever, when I could just I can just look like, oh, what's Joel doing? Oh, he's on a call. That's why he's not answering me, because he's right over there and he's on a call. Like, I can see that. So
and not just that too, but like even like people are like, oh, we have all this technology of Slack and Google Meets and stuff. Well, like my big thing lately is like people that don't turn their camera on, and I sound like an old guy, but like for me, it's so difficult for me to communicate with people who like aren't giving me anything back, or I can't even see their face.
Right.
I can't be effective as a leader. I can't communicate as a leader if I can't get something back from you.
Imagine doing the podcast.
Right.
I mean, for those that are watching us, I just turned my camera off, and this is a terrible experience. It's just terrible. Not. It's not a good experience, and
it's not. And not only that, but like, let's just say we muted everything, right? And then somebody was watching this podcast, they would get an idea of what was funny, who's happy, who's sad, what we agreed with, what we didn't agree with. Yep. There's so much nonverbal communication, and like, the remote home thing is challenging enough sometimes, and it would just be really helpful to be able to kind of see that part. But then it's like, hey, well, why should we have to turn our cameras on? Will you hear our voice? And it's just like, yeah, but when everyone's nodding along with something, or I could see somebody, grimace when they don't understand something, I can slow the meeting down.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, we miss that stuff. And I feel like quality impacts there, because what happens is, like, as you're trying to like move a team through something, you miss the opportunity. Somebody may not feel comfortable enough to say something, but their face will read that they don't understand something. And then you could either address it with them later, but when you can't see, you don't know. You
have no idea. Right.
Yeah.
And then they just get lost, right? And if it happened once, it's going to happen again, and then a third time, and they're lost, and then, and then they're not happy with what they're doing anymore. And that's difficult.
They get left behind in a way.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Last section. Let's go rapid fire here. Are you ready?
Ready.
All right. Pizza, wings, or burgers?
Pizza.
That's the wrong answer. It's wings, but okay.
Wings are good. I mean, all of them? Is that an answer?
No, you have to choose one.
Okay.
Look, I get it. I'm a pizza fan as well. So there you go.
Well, I've been on this like Connecticut. Like, have you ever had like Connecticut thin crust pizza? Like they have in the Northeast, like really, really crispy pizza. Like I've been on. It's changed my whole answer.
Well, I watch. Where's it at? I watch Barstool. Like, I mean, that's
we
have the sticker, right? Portnoy is all about that area, and so I want to get up there and try that pizza.
Oh, so I just tried one for the first time the other day, and it like now pizza is my number one for everything. It's like completely changed the game.
It could change my answer too. Quite honestly.
There you go.
All right. What's the worst business advice you ever received?
I would say, the worst business advice I ever received. I don't know. I would say when I take it, it's hard to answer this with a specific, but I would say it's not listening to your gut. It's not that I received, but let me invert it. So like when you feel something strongly as an entrepreneur and you're pretty, there's people that will give you a different answer, not because they're wrong. It's probably right, but they're just not seeing the whole picture. And when I was younger, I used to second guess myself, like maybe they know something I don't. And I realized that, you got to listen to that little voice. You got to listen to that gut. So business advice, I'm not kind of answering the question correctly, but I want to make the point that you got to really trust yourself. You got to know when to listen, but you have to trust that voice in the bottom.
Makes sense. Makes total sense. All right, next one. My guilty pleasure is.
Oh, I would say, what's lately? This is all food related. But have you tried these? Have you tried these like Turkish or whatever chocolates? What are they called? These are what are they called? They're like the chocolate with the pistachio filling. It's like they're really Dubai chocolates. That's what they're called. There's a whole thing now. So go on social. It's all over social right now. Is these things called like Dubai chocolates? Okay. So it's like this chocolate, and inside is it's like a cream cheese pistachio mix inside, but they are completely viral. They have them at all the stores over here, and so I was like, what are these stupid things? So I tried one on vacation. It's the best chocolate I've ever had, and but I can't get them. They're like $30 a bar. So you gotta Google Dubai chocolates, and you gotta find a place locally that makes them, or you gotta buy one. It'll change your life.
All right, I'll give it a shot.
So good.
What is the most used app on your phone right now?
Most used app on my phone right now professionally would be Slack. I would say unprofessionally would probably be probably TikTok.
TikTok. Yeah.
I'm hoping it doesn't go away.
I'll tell you though, TikTok from a professional level has really changed things for us as well. Connecting with TikTok obviously has a younger presence, right? And being able to understand that and sell to that younger, has really, I sound so old. I
know, we both do. We've been doing this too long.
TikTok, and that's where we go now.
Yeah, it's where the young kids go. Yeah. But it's, no, I agree with you. I like the simplicity of it from a user interface. We're not humongous fans of using it on the platform just for its targeting capabilities. But yeah, we use it on the user side, more for fun and for brain building.
Gotcha. All right, last question. The staffing industry would be better if?
See, the staffing industry would be better. Oh man, I feel like I want to say something that's going to get me in so much trouble.
Please do.
If the VMSs would go away. I think it would be better if we didn't have them. That's a mean thing to say, but
clearly I can't comment on this whatsoever.
Yeah, you can't either.
However,
I'll say it. I think there's too much of a driving force there. I think I would love to see at least bring that 80-90% VMS coverage down to 50-50.
Yeah.
I just think there's more choice and more. I don't know. I think it's really making the staffing industry difficult.
I'll give an addendum to my response to your
Sure.
answer. Then
Sure.
There are some that do it very well, that have it figured out, that are very easy to work with, that pay the agencies on time, that are personable with us, that get back to us on time. And then there are some, generally smaller ones, that absolutely do not.
Right. And it's such the VMS thing right now has gotten so fever pitch with a lot of our agencies that it's putting some of them out of business. And where they have they call them VMS games. Some of these agencies are describing it as where they're not getting paid but they really are. The VMS is getting paid, but they're not dispatching it to the agency and you get into the whole vendor neutral thing. And to me, staffing is hard enough. It adds another, like you said, when it works well, it works well. And I'm generalizing to your point. Not all VMSs are like this, but some of them have made it really difficult to do business in a market and an industry that's already really difficult to do business. Yeah. So, not a fan.
Awesome way to end it, though. I love that. So, all right, give me 2 minutes. Where can we find you? How can our travelers find you? And then wrap it up for me.
Yeah, so travel nursing, go to travelnursesource.com. If you're in therapy or alliedtravelcareers.com. If you're on locum or your advanced practice, go to locumjobsonline.com. You can find me hang out a lot on LinkedIn, Oliver Feakins. You can find me on all the socials, and for our parent company TrackFive, just trackfive.com. So we'll be at TravCon. If anyone watching this, if this comes out before TravCon, we will be there. And we'll definitely be at SIA as well. So
awesome. Oliver, thank you so much. I knew when I started this, I could count on you. In fact, you were my first guest, and then you were on vacation, then I was on vacation, and then it it didn't work out. So I'm glad you finally got to join me here.
Well, and we're already planning our talent track 2026. It's like, we got to get Rich. We got to get Rich because he's really good. So I think you and I think alike. We have a very similar, what do you want to call it? Like mantra or methodology for how we do this. And hey, it's always fun. Always fun.
Talent Track was a ton of fun. I can't wait to do it again next year. And for those travelers out there watching it, you can go to TrackFive Media on LinkedIn and watch all of those. Not only do you have clips, but then you have links back to the full sessions too, correct?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So all the recruiters, all the agencies, we've actually had some agencies do Talent Track watch parties where they've done it with their entire recruiting resources or their senior leadership. We've had a lot of people asking us for videos for that. But next year, knock on wood, it might be in person, and it might be in your neck of the woods. So it's we're thinking of trying to put up in Omaha. So
that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, very good.
We'll get up on stage, then we'll go have some good wings somewhere.
Maybe that's the idea. We're gonna do wings. I think we're gonna do an awards ceremony, and we're gonna do a really cool after hours, and just make it a day, but try to bring the industry together again. I feel like whenever the industry gets together, to your point, it is a lot of fun. You know what I mean?
And it makes everything in the industry better. It all flows down to the end user. When we all work better together, when your product works better, when it gets to us and we use it better, it just makes everything better for the client, the end user, that traveler in the hospital.
And not just that too, but I wouldn't want to go to work in a place where I don't like anybody or you know what I mean? And same thing exists within the community that we work in. So you wouldn't want to it's the fact that you have such great relationships with all the other competitors, even though you fiercely compete, right? Yeah. There's a level of respect and a level of understanding and friendship between some of these people. I mean, hell, some of them probably worked at Alice at one point or vice versa, right?
Or vice versa, yeah.
It's like a big family. So anytime we get the family together and just be like, hey, yeah, we all compete, but for a day, let's just spend time together, enjoy each other's company, maybe share some things to help each other. And, to us, it's just kind of our mantra. It's better together than we are apart.
Oliver, thank you so much. I really appreciate you being on with me today.
Appreciate it.
Join us for our next episode where we talk to another industry insider about the staffing world.